Hello everybody, Adam here, and today I'm going to be talking about my 3 favorite metal bands from the year 2021. And while there were many different metal bands that I could have listed on here, obviously 3 out of the entire metal genre and all of its subgenres was very difficult for me to choose. I was able to make my 3 choices, and I'm curious to hear what you chose as well. So leave your top 5 or 10 or 3, whatever, metal bands in the comment section below, and I'll talk about my top 3. At number 3, we have Rivers of Nihil. So Rivers of Nihil put out an amazing record this year called The Work. Now, I've already been a massive fan of these guys since their, I guess, 2 albums ago now, 2 albums previous, the Where Owls Know My Name. That album, incredible, blew me away. That one album made me a fan of them immediately. And then when I heard that they're making a new album for this year, I was so stoked about it. And when it came out, they delivered. So what makes this band so special? Is their use of ambience. Also, their use of 3 vocalists. Their songwriting and production is also really amazing and cool. And I just love the way they're able to blend death metal and with modern progressive metal to make a sound that's incredibly melodic and amazing. If you haven't listened to their recent album yet, you definitely need to. There's moments on there that are extremely heavy, in your face. Like if you like death metal, it's like right down your alley. But then there's some like weird and cool like prog stuff that they just sprinkle in there. Their soundscaping on the album is amazing. Very unique songwriters. They have their own very unique sound in the progressive metal world, which is very difficult to come by these days. It feels like many bands are just copying what other bigger bands are doing. I love how they're able to take all these different elements from death metal, combine it with modern prog, and you have this amazing, delicious, like ear candy that is good for so many different listeners within the prog metal world. They have very melodic parts. They have shredding, but they're also like, it's also so cleanly like interwoven into like beautiful storytelling as well. A+ band, amazing band. If you have not checked out Rivers of Nihil, then you absolutely need to, and you should check out their album The Work, or you should check out their album Where Owls Know My Name. Really good places to come in on if you're a new listener of them. Next, we move to number 2, Leprous. Now, this probably shouldn't come as any surprise to you because this was on the thumbnail. So you had to assume that Leprous was either 1, 2, or 3, right? Leprous put out an amazing record this year called Aphelion. Aphelion blew my mind apart, specifically their song Nighttime Disguise. So what is it about these guys that I love so much? Number 1, their vocalist is godly. He's so good and he's so controlled. And he has something that I love in just general musicianship that I find it's hard to do in the progressive metal world. And he had something called musical restraint, but he understands like when to dial it back. He understands like kind of like when to be a show off. I would say some would argue that he shows off his voice too much. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that, just from my own personal taste. I feel like what he does with his voice is perfect for what the band needs and for what the song calls for pretty much at all times. His use of high falsetto and mix are just amazing, and it's hard to find another vocalist in the genre that can do the technical runs that he does sound as amazing in his head voice as he does, but also finds place for balance and finds place for just amazing control over his voice. Like the volume that he's able to do and the intimacy that he's able to do, you know, goes from like here up to here, and he can play within this whole range. Definitely one of the standouts of the band. The band overall, from like a compositional standpoint and a production standpoint, they definitely have their own unique sound, and it really shows in Nighttime in the Skies. Like, it goes from this, like, how do I say, like, it's not necessarily ambient, but like technical, but it's also like not technical part, and the whole song builds up dynamically into this just soaring, crazy outro that has a brass band in it. There's screaming in it too. I mean, like, I didn't even mention that about his vocals earlier. Incredible band, and one that's definitely worth listening to if you're like really into progressive metal. Like, I think there's something in Leprous for all progressive metal people to like. Amazing group.
I've always thought that I pulled through.
What's the last band on the list? Number 1 goes to Lana Shore. Now, this probably comes as a surprise to most of you because I'm like really big into progressive metal. So where did this melodic deathcore band come from, and why are they my favorite band of the entire year? So there's a few reasons for that. One, their general overall production from like an audio engineering standpoint is like perfect. I can't come up with anything that I would find that I would call like errors or like any like technicalities to the productions that I would change as like an audio engineer. And normally I can find at least one thing per album that I would at least have like a minor change to. With Lana Shore, their production is perfect for what it is. I have tons of respect for that. The second reason is, again, the vocalist. Just in a similar way, Leprous's vocalist like brought me back to Leprous over and over again. Will Ramos brought me into Lana Shore, and I come back a lot for his vocals. I mean, not that many people know it, but I'm a false chord screamer, and what he is able to do with his voice and his vocals, how he's able to change from all of these very, very different types of screams and growls that he does, and how he's able to use his screaming voice only to add like dynamics and variety. It's like he's so ridiculously versatile in like the fry screaming, false sword screaming, and other like techniques that he does. Freaking amazing. He's in a perfect role in Lana Shore. I absolutely love his vocals in the context of that band. They're perfect. It's a perfect combination. Number 3 is I like how they are melodic, but they're also extremely heavy at the same time. They are a band that understands that you have to have some open parts sometimes in order to make your heavy sections super heavy and your like more open sections more open and more melodic. You can see that in like a lot of their choruses, specifically if you were to go in and like study their music. Actually, believe it or not, I had a deathcore band, Shadow of Intent, that's kind of similar to these guys, especially like in the direction of like their keyboard writing and how they compose their songs. On a list very similar to this one that I made maybe 2 years ago, I think there's always a room in at least my top 5 for melodic deathcore, because what they're able to do with their keyboards and especially deathcore bands like Lana Shore that are able to add like classical elements with like choirs, strings, bells, piano. Like, I love that crap. And it's very fresh, at least to me personally, because I don't listen to too much deathcore music. So it's really cool for me to hear this and to hear all these keyboard patches and instruments of course, that I've heard many times because I listen to prog metal. So like, I'm used to hearing these in music, but hearing these in a different format like this over like primarily heavy music all the time, like really gave me like a new appreciation for, and gave me like a lot of good like songwriting ideas for my own personal projects. Lana Shore, I have to hand it to you. You are my #1 band of the year. You guys are incredible, putting out amazing productions. Good job. If you're liking my videos, if you're liking my content, make sure to leave me a comment down below. What are your like top 10 or 5 or 3 favorite metal bands of the year? I'm curious to have a discussion with you down in the comments. Hit the like button, subscribe button, the bell button. I do have a Patreon page if you are so interested. The link is in the description below. I am on Fiverr as well. I am a professional audio engineer as well as professional guitarist. And I would love to work on your project, whether you have a rock project, metal project, whatever project. Just recently, I went through 3 or 4 different subgenres of music. I did 80s metal, post-hardcore, now I'm working on metalcore. So I'm pretty well versed in different genres of music, so I can definitely help you out. My band, Circles of Namibia, you can see some of our merchandise back there. We have a merch store, so if you want to support me directly, that's a really, really good way to do so. You can head down into the description and see the Teespring store and see if there's anything for you there. Have a great holiday season, everybody. I'm curious to hear what your top metal bands are down in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye, everyone.